Hello everybody, welcome to Yoga and some breath work with Fiona of Law of Clinic, where I am today. I just wasn't sure if the weather gods would work with us today to do it outside, and I think the sound is much better obviously when you're inside, regardless of a super groovy microphone. So we're going to start with a breathwork practice they call moon breathwork. You can do this seated. Now I'm sitting on the floor, but you can do this seated on your chair, your couch. It's just again finding the sit bones and sitting up nice and tall. If you can imagine, there's that string coming from the top of your head. I find that visualization great to help me to sit up nice and tall. So this breathwork practice is you're breathing in and out through your left and your right nostril. They say that the left side of our brain, and when we breathe in through the left side of our nostril, it's quite cooling to our bodies. It helps to lower our metabolism slightly. It is good for activating our parasympathetic nervous system, which in turn helps our rest and our digest. So this breath work and these practices are all about one's really calming down the parasympathetic, or activating the parasympathetic nervous system, calming down our nervous system, and perhaps helping us to sleep. I know myself, my sleep has been kind of up and down. I have no problem going off to sleep, but I definitely have woken, I think it was last week, maybe after the full moon, I found my sleep was very disturbed. So I just find these practices can be really, really good to do before you go to bed. Now, of course, leading into that is, not too much tea or coffee, an hour or 2 hours before you go to bed. If you're on a phone, like in bed, as you're just before you go to sleep, it can be quite stimulating. It's not that it's bad, but it just stimulates your brain, so it doesn't really help our parasympathetic nervous system to kick in and help us to go to sleep. So things like that, having a nice warm bath perhaps before we go to sleep. If you particularly like it, a nice warm mug of milk with a little bit of cinnamon or something like that in it is good to help us settle ourselves before going to sleep. Maybe reading before you go to bed, making sure there's not too, well, for me personally speaking, I can't sleep in a room with lights on, but just making sure that there's perhaps not too many gadgets on sleep in your bedroom, in your bed space. So those are things about making your bedroom a sanctuary of rest. Okay, so what we're going to do is this breathwork practice, as I say, and all you need to do is be sitting comfortably, spine upright, and you're going to take the thumb of your right or your left hand, and I'll do it with my right, whatever's comfortable to you. So I'm going to put the thumb of my right hand on my right nostril, and I'm going to use my ring finger and put that on my left nostril. And you can place both your other fingers up on your third eye if you wish. That can be a little bit claustrophobic for some people, so you don't have to do it if you don't want to. It's entirely up to you. So I'm going to explain what we do, and then I'm going to repeat it a few times. So you can repeat this for up to 5-6 minutes. You can do it as long as you like, really. But to help you to down regulate your nervous system a little bit, you can just repeat this about 3 to 5 minutes. So what you're going to do is you're going to block your right nostril with your right thumb, and you're going to breathe in through your left nostril. You're going to hold, and then you're going to block your left nostril with your ring finger, and you're going to exhale through your right nostril. So the idea is that the breath is in 1-1-1, as in even. So the inhale, the hold, and the exhale. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat that a few times, and I'm going to sound quite nasally, just to show you how to do it, but you can keep repeating it that little bit longer. Okay, so we're going to inhale through your left nostril, hold both, exhale through your right, block your right, inhale through your left, hold, exhale through your right, inhale through your left, hold, Inhale through your left. Hold. Exhale through your right. Inhale through your left. Hold. Exhale through your right. Inhale through your left. Hold. Exhale through your right. Inhale through your left. Hold. Exhale through your right. Inhale through your left. Hold. Exhale through your right. Inhale through your left. Hold. Exhale through your right. Inhale through your left. Hold. Exhale through your right. So as I said, you can begin that practice. You can continue it for as long as feels comfortable for you. I find by somehow silently even saying the words, it helps me to keep my focus, and I find I begin to fall into a pattern, almost a rhythm with it. The left side of our brain is the yin side of our brain, so going back to a previous live that I did where I was talking about the yin and yang of us as humans, the yin is more cooling, our feminine side. So it's interesting to note how that breath has even just made me kind of cool down, because prior to recording obviously I was flitting around trying to get things in order. So yeah, it's a lovely one to practice and feel comfortable to practice it for as long as feels comfortable for you. I suggest maybe starting and doing it for 3 minutes and then, elongating that time for yourself. Of course, if at any point you find it uncomfortable to do it, just stop and, be gentle with yourselves. If this is something you've never done before, why should you get it right the first time? Even if you try it for 1 minute and build it up from there. But just repeating it a few times, you'll notice your system just begins to settle a little bit more. So I'm going to move into doing the poses now. So one of the poses, or a couple of them anyway, the first one I'm going to do, we've done before. And this is a forward fold. But what we're going to use is, I'm going to use the wall behind me to rest my bum on it. So keeping your feet about hip distance apart, and if you can, finding the 4 corners of your feet, and then just coming upright, bending from your hips and folding forward, leaning your bum and your waist back against the wall, and slowly allowing your upper body to fold over your lower body. Now if you can touch the floor, that's great, but if that's not where you're at, that's fine. When your head is below your heart rate, it's very, very calming for our nervous system. One thing I like to do sometimes is use something like a bolster. A couple of pillows will do for this. And this, I'm not leaning on it, I'm just kind of resting on it, and it's just helping me feel a little bit more sense of comfort. If you find this is really stretching on the backs of your legs, which it will be, it's just bend your knees slightly and easing that stretch and just allowing your body to soften slightly with each exhalation. Breathing in and out. So this version of the forward fold is not so much about stretching the backs of your legs. It's more about calming down the nervous system. Just breathing in and out a few times, finding your place, your feeling nicely calm. And slowly beginning to unfurl yourself vertebrae by vertebrae and pushing into the soles of your feet. Now that pose is not one to do if you have high blood pressure. Okay, so another way of doing it is sitting in what we call staff or dandasana, staff pose, with your legs straight, sitting into your sit bones and folding yourself forward over your legs. And because you don't have gravity on your side for this, you might go, oh, I don't get so far. Sometimes I do get far and sometimes I don't get far. So you can use, because I'm at the clinic, I have my equipment with me. But if you have pillows, that's fine. Just use what you've got. So I find just that bit of extra weight on your legs help your legs to ground down that little bit more, and then just draping yourself forward as far as you comfortably can over the bolster or your pillows. You can move it up a little bit further if that feels better to you. Actually, pillows would probably be better here because this is a bit bulky. So just inhaling and exhaling just a few times. And with each exhalation, hopefully you can feel yourself just softening a little bit more. Now, if you want something that's nice and rolled like this, a good idea is using a duvet. And you can do this either by piling them up like so, and stretching out a little bit, piling up pillows on top of that, and taking that stretch forward. So there's a lot of different ways of doing this, but it's just about trying to get the nervous system to settle just a little bit more. Turning your head right and left as feels comfortable for you. If you find that a little bit of a challenge for you, you can even use a chair, moving your legs a little bit wider, just making sure that the chair isn't going to wobble on you too much, in that when you lean on it, that it doesn't take your weight. So you're just leaning forward like so. It's really relaxing, it's very, very restful. And just make sure you give yourself at least maybe 3 to 5 inhale and exhale, because it can often take us a couple of breaths to really feel into a pose. I find if you do poses like this sort of in your bedroom before you go to bed, you're kind of setting yourself up in the area you are. So perhaps you don't have a chair in your bedroom, but you could use the edge of your bed. You know, you don't have to have specialized equipment. So the other one I want to show you is a pose I really like. So again, we're going to use the wall for this one. This is one version of it, and you're going to take your bum as close to the wall as you possibly can, lying down and spinning yourself around until you get comfortable, and your legs are going to be up the wall. This is great for anybody who spends a lot of time standing on your feet, sitting at a desk. It's great to have circulation coming down. If perhaps being completely straight up isn't comfortable to you, you can bend your legs and you can move your bum back from the wall slightly. If having your feet up against the wall is really comfortable for you, perhaps you can just take them out a little bit further, right, left. This is great for opening up our hips slightly. And if you think, I'm not sure, I'm working a little bit too hard to hold myself here, you can use rolled up blankets tucked in underneath each hip, and that'll just take that strain off your legs slightly. You can use as many as you like for doing that. By being supported holding a pose, it really helps us to hold it for longer. This is a really, really nice relaxing pose. And just making sure when you lie down that you can't actually slide your hand in underneath that natural curve of your lower back. It's that bit more restful for you. So you kind of got to scoot your tailbone round
so that you're lying on the whole of your spine, if that makes sense. So if you happen to have a bed with a mighty fine headboard at the end of it, you could do it lying in bed. Absolutely. Being comfortable and supported is one of the best ways of holding a pose for longer. So perhaps that version isn't easy enough for you to do, and you have like a chair, or like the way some people have puffs in their rooms, in their bedrooms. So what you can do is very, very similar. And what you're going to do is, it's much better if you get your back onto the floor before you attempt to swing up your legs. If you attempt to swing up your legs, you might go, you strain yourself. Making sure everything's out of my way there before I go turn it around. So getting your bum as the side of your hip as close to the chair as you can, and then bringing your back down and bringing your legs up. And again, very, very, just really restorative pose this is. And you can hold this one for as long as feels comfortable to you. A thing I like to add into it, can you just pass me that? If you have, weighted Wheatie bag, a lot of people do have them. I think to lie here on the chest, that little bit of weight on the chest area, could be a couple of blankets folded. It's very settling on our nervous systems. As I say, just inhaling and exhaling, be holding this 3 to 5 breaths. Again, like I say, if it's not a practice you've ever done really before you've gone to bed, you might think, I'd much rather be in bed. And you could certainly do this version in your bed, lying on your back, with a bunch of pillows underneath your legs. So you don't have to be on the floor. And just with each breath, can you just let your body feel heavier a little bit more? Inhaling and exhaling. Okay, so we're going to move out of that pose now. Got many props for you today. So my last pose is, I have to say, probably one of my favourites to do in a restorative class. So I'm going to use the bolster, because I have it here and not my duvet. So if you have a duvet, you can certainly use that. A couple of pillows, absolutely. You can use a bunch of blankets rolled up, whatever it takes to help you to feel supported in this. Now I always have a couple of things around just in case if today that I'd really like to have a little bit of extra. So you're going to bring your big toes to meet at the back. So this is child's pose, but a supported version of child's pose. So you don't have to stretch your arms out. Again, it's not about stretching muscles of our body, it's more about supporting our nervous system to relax that little bit more. Props out of the way slightly. So you're going to take the bolster, so it comes in between your thighs, or your duvet or your pillows. And you're just going to drape yourself forward and try to maintain the connection with your heels and your bum. And if that's not there for you, just use a blanket. This isn't a competition, nobody's going to know. So you can take that in between. It just helps to really settle you that little bit more, all these small little connections of our body. And then taking your body and draping it over the bolster. Maybe you take 3 breaths in and out, inhaling and exhaling, with your head turned to your left. And then you take 3 breaths with your head turned to your right. Now if you find it hard to lie like that, certainly take a blanket and put an extra prop underneath it. You can take, this is the one I love to put a blanket over me. If you've any issues with your knees, you could do this version as a forward fold. You can certainly do it sitting in a chair. This is really relaxing. I think child's pose brings us back perhaps to a time when we were a baby and nurtured and cared for. It's a very restorative version of child's pose. And of course you can certainly do that in your bed too, so if you're somebody who's maybe leaning like this for your knees, it's a little softer on the mattress or bed. So those are a couple of poses just to help you to settle your nervous system a little bit before bed. You could certainly practice all of them if you wished, but maybe choose one to try if you've never done it before. If you're familiar with them, certainly give them a go as a collective. It can be really good. If perhaps you've had a busy day on your feet, the legs raised higher than your heart rate is really, really good for increasing your circulation. Legs up the wall, very comfortable. Legs on the back of the chair, on the chair seat, or piled up on pillows in your bed, really, really nice. It's very, very restful. When I worked as a chef prior to having kids, I would have elevated the end of my bed by tucking something in underneath the mattress, and I tell you, I used to get up in the morning and feel like I had brand new legs. It was amazing. It's wonderful for anybody who spends, if you're sedentary or you actually spend a lot of time on your feet, it's a wonderful thing to do, even maybe once a week. So I hope those were of some use to anybody. If anybody has any questions, please don't hesitate to ask in the comments, and I shall see you later on for the next little part. Thank you.